Hello everyone, I hope you're doing well. So I decided to do my historical figure speech on Jacques Cartier. And I feel like for some of you it might be a little surprising that I'm not doing this project on Alexander Hamilton, even though I am related to him. And I thought about it at first, and then I kind of thought it would be more of a cop-out since I am related to him and I have all this fuel of knowledge, so I thought it would just be a cop-out if I did it. So Jacques Cartier is still someone who I've known for a good portion of my life, but it's someone who I'm not as familiar with, say, as like Alexander Hamilton. So I actually did learn about Jacques around, I want to say when I was 10, so almost half my life. And I did learn a little bit about him from my grandmother, who did live in a French colony. So I do say Jacques Cartier with a very heavy French accent. I apologize if it's a little confusing or hard to understand. But we're mostly going to go over Jacques' early life, his two main voyages. There's a third one, but we're going to wrap it up to the first two. Then we're going to go over his life after his voyages, and then what his legacies are. Okay, so we're going to start with his early life. So Jacques Cartier was born on December 31st of 1491. And he was actually born in the French town St. Malo. So St. Malo is actually by one of the oceans that borders France. I can't remember exactly which one it is, but that is where it's believed that he learned how to be a navigator of sea and then overall sea life. So that's pretty much where it's been believed he learned that, since it was a fishing town. And on one of the voyages he's been on, it wasn't like a main voyage of his, he was just a crew member. He actually went to Brazil, and in May of 1519, he did end up meeting and marrying his wife, Catherine de Grande, and they were actually together until Jacques died, sadly. Okay, so now we're gonna go into his two main voyages. So, on voyage 1, it started April 20th of 1534. So France wanted him to go sail west and to go find new territory. So originally when he was sailing, he ended up finding this little gulf of water. So it was right between America, around America, Canada area. And it's actually what we know today as the St. Lawrence Gulf. And that was discovered in June of 1534. Which is when he discovered it and named it. So after that, he went back to the king of France, be like, hey, I found this gulf, there's possibly land behind it, can I go again? So the next year, he was funded to go again. So on May 19th of 1535, he went back to the Gulf of St. Lawrence, and he went a little bit further. And on September 7th of 1535, he found the St. Lawrence River. So he got to name both those. And another piece of that, which is the third one, he actually got onto Canada. And there's a whole thing about him naming Canada, thinking it was the whole name of it. He possibly named Canada. There's a whole thing. I couldn't find exact information on that. But there's the possibility he did name Canada. But on his third voyage, he did try to set up Canada to basically be a French colony, but failed. And sadly, around that time, he was getting older and he couldn't really lead a whole crew again for another year. So he basically got to live his later years thinking that he failed, when in reality, he didn't. He actually did bring this whole thing to France's attention and helped make Canada what we know more today. So to go on to his later years, there's not much about his life before and after the voyages, especially after. There's almost nothing. We mostly just have where he went back to and when he passed. So he did go back to France. He did go back to St. Malo with his wife. And sadly, on September 1st of 1557, he passed at the age of 66. And like I said, he felt like he passed due to failing in a way. But even though he didn't get that one thing done, he didn't fail. He is known for naming the St. Lawrence River and Gulf and bringing Canada to France's attention, and around the later 1500s and 1600s, France did go back and established French roots into Canada, which helped it become what we know today, where Canada is more of like an English and French speaking country, and more places you go, they speak more French, other places you go, they speak more English. But he did bring this whole thing to France's attention, which led to how Canada is today. And another fun fact, actually, this picture over here is actually the Jacques Cartier Bridge in Montreal. So not only that, Canada does realize that he did help shape Canada to what it is today. And actually up here, I don't know if you can see this, this is actually a Jacques Cartier stamp that Canada printed for a while. So even though there's not a ton of information about Jacques Cartier, he is a predominant figure in France and both Canada. And in a way, he kind of founded and started Canada to what we know it is today. So he is a huge figure to those two countries. Even though he's someone who we might not really know, since he is a French explorer from the 14 to 1500s, he did help create two countries into what we know today. So thank you.